So one of the challenges of the whole coronavirus quarantine thing is that I have a little bit limited access to the books that I want to talk to you about. Now I have quite a few books at home here, and I'm not running out anytime soon. But one section of my books that I own, I left up at my classroom, not knowing how long it would be till I could get back to them. And that's my books about poetry. And here we are in the middle of National Poetry Month, and I haven't had a chance to talk to you about one book of poetry. So I had to fix that. Had to go pick up some things at Target yesterday anyway, so one of the things I picked up was a copy of this poetry book, which I'm so excited to talk to you about. It is Amanda Lovelace's book, Break Your Own Glass Slippers. Now, if you've never read anything by Amanda Lovelace before, let me start out by saying her poetry style is really fun and it's really unique. She does start out every poetry book with a trigger warning because her books are pretty autobiographical. They talk about some painful things she's been through. They talk about things like abuse, and they talk about things like fat shaming and stuff like that. But poetry is cathartic. So when you write poetry, you get to deal with all the emotions of that pain that you've lived through. Same as when you read poetry. Reading poetry helps you to deal with those same things. So that is going to be here in this poetry book. She previously wrote a trilogy of poetry books, all of which were sold at Target, which is where I picked them up. That was called Women Are Some Kind of Magic. And those books had titles such as, The Princess Saves Herself in this one, The Witch Doesn't Burn in this one, and The Mermaid's Voice Returns in this one. This is the first book in a series of called You Are Your Own Fairy Tale. So since this says Break Your Own Glass Slippers, I'm sure you can understand that this book is connecting to Cinderella. In fact, very uniquely, this is sort of a poetic, poetry type retelling of Cinderella, where Cinderella is wrestling with this whole idea of a Prince Charming, of someone coming to save her, and how sometimes the people who we think can save us are the worst people to be around. Because we need to learn to be whole on our own. And that's a lot of what this poetry is about. The collection has some beautiful, beautiful art in it. You can see the colors, kind of hard to see in this video, but the beautiful blues. One of my favorite, very brief poems in here is not very far in. Let's see if I can find it quickly. I don't normally do this, but it just was so good. I'm almost there. Normally I wouldn't do this, like I said. We've got art on the inside. And this one says, Fairy Godmother says, some days your body will feel like a cage. On those days, lace flowers through the bars. It's so good. One of the things that's so unique about this poetry collection as well is that it will start with a poem that is the sort of Cinderella character, the more autobiographical character, wrestling with aspects of who she is or what she's going through. And then on the page adjacent, it will have the fairy godmother relating some sort of wisdom. And it sort of has this wrestling between heart and head. So highly recommend Amanda Lovelace's poetry. Highly recommend this book. Pick up some poetry. It's a quick read. I literally read this morning from the time I first started waking up my wife till about 30 minutes later. And then I talked to my wife for the next 30 minutes while she was still trying to wake up. So she's not much of a morning person. So pick up this book.